Well, hello, fellow Kansas Democrats. Gina Repass here, proud chair of the Kansas Democratic Party. And before I say anything else, let me thank all of our veterans and active duty members of our military. Thank you for your service and for our freedom. Well, for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome to the weekly Chair Chat. What this does is it replaces a written newsletter, and I took this from FDR's Fireside Chats so I can come directly to Kansas Democrats every week and tell you about what's going on. Now, these are pre-recorded, so if there's something you would like me to talk about or celebrate, please email us at info@kansasdems.org. That's info@kansasdems.org. If there's something more pressing, please give us a call. We have a lovely person answering our phones. We do try to answer every call by the end of the business day, but give us up to 24 hours. Well, let's jump right in. What I try to do is start with good news or sometimes some not so good national news and build up to great news because we all need to end on some hope. So let's start with the good, not so good news part. Session has finally come to an end. The House gavelled out sine die, and technically it was supposed to be on Friday night, but technically it was Saturday morning because it was like 1:36 in the morning. But that means our legislative session for 2026 is over. Now, sometimes there are committees that meet throughout the year, but the official legislative session is done. They came back for veto session. All I want to say to you about that is we must elect more Democrats to represent our values in the legislature. We have been so blessed to be served by Governor Laura Kelly for 8 years, and she has vetoed every bad piece of legislation that has come past her. But because we don't have enough members in the legislature, we couldn't protect her veto. They overrode her again and again and again, and then finally at 1:36 in the morning on Saturday went into sine die, meaning your legislative session in Kansas is now over. I will borrow a quote from our wonderful Shiro, the leader of our Senate, DINAH SYKES, and she said this time it was an absolute show. That's what I'll say, but she said the word. All right, well, that part is over. So let's move on to some national news or more nationally centered news that you need to know about. The DNC and the ASDC had their spring meetings in New Orleans. I was there as part of the state parties, and then our national committee member, Hank, and our national committee woman, Deanne Mitchell, joined us. Also, we were so thrilled to have Reed Cruson, president of our KYDs, join us because they had the Young Dems there at the same time. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Things that you need to know. We are already into the 2028 cycle. Everyone is fired up. The winds are in our back. A 90% Democratic win rate in special elections to this point, including what just happened in Wisconsin, winning in Florida and Trump's backyard. But what we keep being reminded of is don't take that for granted. Now is the time to push forward. Now is the time to work hard. We believe we can take back the House and probably the Senate. And in Kansas, we have our statewide, and I believe all of those wins are in our sails. So I do want to say this. There was an influencer named Carlos Espina, has 23 million followers. There was a focus on getting young Dems involved. So we are committed to doing that. So again, I'm glad Reed Cruson was there. The wins are at our sails. Let's move on to some good news. Happy birthday to our Senate leader, DINAH SYKES, who, by the way, is also running for insurance commissioner. She must win because Dan Hawkins, the current Speaker of the House, is running against her on the Republican side. It will be a disaster. This man cannot be your insurance commissioner. But happy birthday to DINAH. The Dole Institute, unfortunately, had to cancel their forum, but we are bringing it to Johnson County at the AZTEC Theater on April 26th. Stay tuned for that. And then last but not least, Pete Buttigieg is coming to town. Don't know if you heard about that. And when I say town, he's coming to Kansas. He's coming to Wichita. That is a long list of national surrogates that we have brought to this great state. But Pete Buttigieg, Secretary of Transportation, is coming to Wichita this coming Friday, April 17th. You must be a Blue Kansas Club member to come. And that's not for any other reason other than to reward the people who've invested in us long term. Thank you for doing that. I'm a Blue Kansas Club member. I donate to the DNC. I donate to the Blue Kansas Club. I donate to my congressional district and my home county. And I'm not a rich person. These are small dollar donations, but I give. And so for those of you who've done that, you are welcome to join us. If you would like to be a Blue Kansas Club member, there's a link here in the email and you can still join and come. So welcome, Secretary Buttigieg. And let's end on the really cool thing. The Artemis II. went all the way around the moon, circled and orbited the Earth and the moon the longest amount of time, and we were there in New Orleans, and Patti LaBelle was there, and everyone all of a sudden stopped, and all of our eyes were turned to the screens in the lobby. And we watched as that fireball then came back into our Earth's atmosphere, and we saw the first set of parachutes, and everyone's eyes were there, and a few people clapped. But then the big chutes came out, and the whole place erupted in applause. And yes, the DNC was there, but there were other people there for other conferences. And in that moment, we were united as Americans. And reminds me of our Ad Astra Prospera, to the stars through adversity. I know there are adverse times, guys, but we can do this together. So let's end the way we always do. May God bless America. May God bless the great state of Kansas, and may God bless you all.